Okay, guys, it's time to get started. It is time for Bollocks this evening here in the Bozard Ford studio. We're happy you're here. We had a great show last night. If you didn't catch last night's, I suggest you go back and catch, because Oscar was an amazing interview telling us all about Vietnam and his time there. Lenny, I got to put that one as one of my favorite interviews I've ever done.
It was fabulous. First of all, we said, hi, Oscar. We turned him on, and he just kept going.
Yeah.
But what was really poignant about it is part of the reason he wanted to do this was for the men and boys who did not come home. So he was doing this out of respect for them and to, just get their position on the record. And he was forthcoming, He was just wonderful.
Yeah, I loved his story about sleeping. What is going on with my sound? I said sound off.
All right, 1, 2.
His story about his first night in country, I thought was just absolutely hilarious. Well, the way it turned out, it was hilarious. Yes. It might not have been hilarious if things would have went terribly wrong. All right, we got to pay some bills, Lenny. I'm going to get us started, and I'm going to start with our numero uno, Bozard Ford. Bozard Ford Lincoln in St. Augustine. Their goal is to make sure your time and experience buying a car is stress-free, fun, and enjoyable. Bozard is a family-owned Ford dealership that has been in business since 1949. Bozard Ford Lincoln has been a recipient of numerous dealer awards, including being ranked #1 automotive dealership in the nation by Dealer Rater. Bozard Ford also has won back-to-back President's Awards, which is the highest honor given by Ford Motor Company. Check them out today online at bozardford.com.
Land Title of America, the oldest title company serving the oldest city. Stephen Collins, the owner of Land Title, has been working in title insurance industry here in St. Augustine since 1985, specializing in all your title insurance and closing needs. If you have a title issue, there is no one better. Stay local, choose Land Title. Call him or text him anytime on his cell phone, because...
Give a crap.
Thank you, Blake.
Oh, dang it. I cut to the wrong camera. I'm a dummy. I'm sorry, everyone.
There you are.
Yeah,
you're back.
What's up, Chloe? Oh, what are you doing?
There goes. Hey, look, everyone. There's my confidence right there. Not there.
Oh.
Okay. Let's leave the jokes to Lenny.
Thank you.
All right.
Good thing you took separate cars.
Lenny, have you shared our show yet?
I have.
Okay. All right.
I'll do it. I'm just looking to see if Florida's got any place that somebody wants to have a job for that's fun.
All right. We got to talk about A.D. Davis Construction. When quality matters, trust A.D. Davis Construction. North Florida's expert in high-end homes, commercial builds, renovations, and historic restorations. With over 65 years experience, their dedicated team delivers craftsmanship you can count on and relationships built on trust. That's #1 right there. They don't just build buildings, they build confidence with integrity, performance, and results that keep over 85% of their clients coming back. From concept to completion, choose A.D. Davis Construction, where your vision meets our legacy of excellence.
All righty. If you're hungry last night, you're probably hungry tonight as well. Eat, drink, and be Irish at Meehan's Irish Pub and Seafood House, right on the waterfront in downtown St. Augustine. Whether you're craving classic corned beef and cabbage, fresh seafood from the Raw Bar, or our famous bangers and mash, Meehan's is where locals and visitors feel right at home. Grab a pint in our cozy Irish pub. Upwind upstairs at Johnny's Oyster Bar, that's our favorite, with stunning views of the Matanzas River, or kick back in the backyard with tropical vibes and a Caribbean-inspired menu. The pints are cold, the food's unforgettable, and the welcome is always warm, only at Meehan's. Say hi to new chef Corey Brown. He's been there for years, and he got promoted to be the head chef. Should be interesting. I'm looking forward to it.
Okay.
Yeah, Corey's a good man.
Good job, Corey. All right, we got to tell you about all the other amazing sponsors we have out there, too. We got Kaiser's. We got to get over there to Kaiser's. We need to have a lunch. A Bollocks lunch date over there at Kaiser's.
I went looking for him today, and he wasn't home.
I've been missing our guy over there. Yep. All right. Other sponsors: A to Z Roofing, South State Bank, Anastasia Diner, and Moultrie Creek Diner, Powell Heating and Air, Brightway Insurance, St. Augustine Pirate and Treasure Museum, Anastasia Construction Group, Solar Stick, Abear Kresge and Associates, and where we're eating tomorrow night, the Saint.
Yeah, baby. So looking forward to that.
Talked to Jeff today. He says he is excited to see Lenny in his wonderful restaurant.
That is a beautiful, beautiful space.
All right. Well, we're doing our regular Bollocks format at the second half of this show, and we're going to be talking about funerals and different
wild stuff.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. Some of the stuff that I found out with different cultures, different religions, and some of the traditions that some of these cultures do. So we have that the second half of the show. But the first half of the show, we're doing our trending picks by Blake. And on my docket, I have Trump.
Oh, okay.
Wins again.
I feel better about those trending picks because if we're going to sports, the Knicks are in the deep shit.
Yeah, you guys are in trouble.
Yeah, big time.
You guys are in trouble.
Okay.
All right, so I got Trump. Trump wins again. What you got?
I got coolest jobs in America.
All right. Could have just went with coolest jobs, but Cornell, you got to say all of them. I understand.
I don't know if these are the coolest jobs in Europe.
Well, are we? Did you not see our economy compared to theirs?
Yes, we talked about that yesterday.
Ours is cooler.
Okay.
Ours is cooler. So, all right, and then I got Little Marco. Blake, what you want to do?
I'm going to do Trump wins in courts, allegedly.
No, I said Trump wins again. All right. And this just happened not much before the show started.
Right.
There was a activist judge that tried to slow down.
Easy with the activist judge.
I'm sorry. I said that wrong. A radical judge.
He must be a Republican, a radical Republican judge?
No, there's no such thing.
Oh, absolutely.
So,
it's called Clarence Thomas and Samuel Alito. Carry on. I'm sorry.
I can't believe that I am the conservative in this room.
Yes.
That shows you how far left you are. I'm
a moderate in the middle.
You are not. You cannot claim that.
I am
Get
real.
Your butt back over on the left. Don't even try and claim that.
Hey, you're dyslexic. Right. You don't know which side I'm on.
I can read both sides of the fence. I can tell you that. So, but there was a judge who tried to block Trump with a decision on tariffs. And here's what I love about our country. None of these tariffs have been in effect. None of them. Not a single one has went into effect yet. It hasn't happened yet. All right. I know your side believes it's already happened. We're already getting billed for this. None of this has hit any of them yet, and it hasn't affected anything in the market because of what they predict is going to happen and what they can charge us with. Companies are charging us with this. All right. That's what's the reality of the world. None of this has really hit any of these countries yet. And no one's received any bill for a tariff. Not one. One.
Right.
But the entire panic button has been hit from the opposition side that did not win the election. So they still think they're in charge. So they're going to sabotage. No, they wouldn't. Just be American and stop sabotaging what we're trying to do.
You mean go to the Dark Ages?
We're not going to the damn Dark Ages. What the hell are you talking about?
There'll be no scientific experimentation anywhere in this country. The National Institute of Health is going to shut its doors. There'll be cobwebs.
Oh, that's what's going to shut it down. You know what keeps America alive? Not the freaking government. And that's the problem with the left. They think the government keeps us alive. That is not what does it. Businessmen of the world keep us alive.
And they're going to spend billions of dollars on development and research on the chance that they might find something.
You know who should be spending that money? And
Harvard.
No, that is not true. That is not true. The big pharmacy companies that get supplements for their research from the government, from the left side.
Not anymore.
Not anymore.
They just yanked Moderna.
Exactly.
They took $750 million away from Moderna for bird flu research.
It's the highest profit margin business, and they get money from the government, and everyone bitches about the oil companies. Well, why are we bitching about pharmaceuticals?
We are, and the problem with the pharmaceutical companies is the fact that if they're getting government funding for the research, or the research is done and then given for them to make the drugs, then they need to lower their prices and kick back to the people in America and make everything affordable. It's not a hard stretch.
No,
and I don't think that's something that the left is going to have a problem with.
Well, they seem to be having a problem with RFK checking under the rug.
Because he's looking for the leftover crumbs of the bear that he left down there.
See, that's the problem with the left. That is not even a topic that has anything to do with the world. You know the shit I would be in if they went back in my history? I've
He
done
volunteered that.
I've
Nobody
done
looked for it.
I
He
know,
volunteered it.
But I've done a lot of good things. That's like
Yes, you have.
You know,
a lot of good things.
You know, it's like. I hate to use this reference because it'll show up in a reel. I'm not going to use it. I'm afraid.
Do it.
Because Blake and
Do
Rebecca
it.
will grab it and put it in a reel.
Do it.
Be careful.
Yeah.
They'll hold it over for years. I got your back on this one. Don't
Right.
don't do it.
I'm not going to
Don't
do
do
it.
it.
I'm not going to do it, but it had something to do with a goat. But you know,
Tom Brady?
no. If
I'm trying to back you out gracefully.
Yeah, the goat.
Right.
Yeah. You know, you can do a lifetime of great things
Well,
and do one thing wrong.
Yeah, there's a joke to that effect, which I won't say on the air.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Build a lot of bridges, but
it has something to do with a goat.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, no, I'm not that. Yeah, exactly. Well, mine's a.
Right. Same idea.
Yeah,
Don't mind us at home, folks. We just don't want to say this on air. My wife will yell at me.
Yeah, that's what mine is.
Exact same thing, right. Build 100 bridges.
Yeah.
Just right.
Yeah.
And those of you who know this joke, laugh. Right?
Yeah. I needed the money. No, that's not true. I didn't need the money.
my C-section was expensive, I guess.
But,
Pardon me.
But I mean, that's the problem with our society.
Yeah.
Is, you know, that bear story is never going to go away from RFK. I've made fun of it when the bear showed up here. I made fun of RFK. So it's not going to go away. It's what we do as Americans, and we have the touch and the feel of it all.
Do the bears on the Bear Overpass have to pay a toll from this morning show?
I don't know. A couple of them tried to skip around and it didn't work so good.
No, not really. Yeah,
it did
exactly.
not work so well for him.
And I hear RFK was right in back of him, sweeping them up and going dinner.
Yeah, he took him to Central Park. But Trump, it got overturned again, so they're not going to delay the tariff talk again. But none of these tariffs have actually hit yet.
Well, that's because Trump enjoys a taco bowl, which means Trump always chickens out. He threatens big tariffs, and then he backs off, which is fine. Now, he's claiming that, well, first of all, he gets pissy when somebody asks him, you know, what's your feeling on being called a taco? And he said, what's that? So they explained to him. He said, well, that's just a nasty question, because anytime he doesn't like a question, he's banning people from asking questions because he's got a very thin skin.
Well, here's the beauty of tacos.
They're delicious.
No matter if they fall apart, they're still amazing.
Yeah.
And see, that's the good thing about Trump. No matter if he falls apart.
You can't call him amazing.
No. His people are going to think he's amazing.
Of course they are.
And you know what?
They're brainwashed.
They're not brainwashed.
Oh, come on.
They're not brainwashed. There's
no individual thought there.
No more than the Democrats were taking the COVID shots. And now you made me say COVID, and that's on the list, too.
Blake, could you get a copy of that list out here, please?
Now you made me say that word.
At least I didn't this time.
But I mean, you know, there's a lot of things out there. Brainwashed is what when we went into Iraq and we invaded Iraq, that was the right side giving bad information.
They're looking for the weapons of mass destruction.
And I can tell you, a lot of the vaccines, some of the stuff that's coming out of those, I'm just like, whew, I'm glad my body was able to fight those off.
Yeah.
Because I do have heart condition in my family. You know, and I would have been somebody that, you know, it could have affected. Right. I mean, some of the stuff that we're now finding out was in those and how little the testing was.
Well, that was because it was at warp speed.
Yeah.
And who was running that, just out of curiosity?
Oh, yeah. No, I mean,
that was under Trump.
Well, it was under Trump. And then
it was actually a phenomenal program because they got the vaccine to market very quickly. So that was something that was beneficial in theory until they said, well, maybe it's not so beneficial.
Yeah, until it wasn't. So until it wasn't.
But they just stopped the Moderna that they pulled the money from was the mRNA one and not the protein-based one. So they did it that. Now, I don't know if they're going to give somebody else money to work on a protein-based vaccine for bird flu. But if they don't, you know, we may be at the risk of a different type of pandemic.
Well, and this is the problem. And this is what I was talking about with Big Pharma. We give more money to Big Pharma than we should.
Absolutely, because it's not like
their profit
poor.
margins are extremely high.
Yes,
one of the highest profit margins out there, and then we get none of the benefits of us, the taxpayers. They charge us for research and advertisement for the drugs that save our lives. I don't even understand why they need advertisement And these, because I mean, you look at ads.
Oh, it's fascinating.
It's ridiculous.
And the last line of it is, and don't take this if you're allergic to it. How the hell do you know you're allergic to something that you've never taken before?
That's exactly it.
That's crazy. First of all, may cause death. And if you're allergic, don't take it. Mm-hmm. But the interesting thing is Pfizer, Moderna, Bayer, these are not American companies.
Mm-hmm.
They're all European companies, if I'm not mistaken. I may be speaking out of turn, but I don't believe so.
Well, some of them, I mean,
they have offices here, but I think most of them are European companies.
Most of their businesses and profits come out of the U.S.
Right, because their profits do, because they're selling the same drugs in Europe and around the world at a dramatically lower rate.
Super low rate.
Correct.
So, and the research was paid for by those countries?
No, I don't think so.
It was paid for by us.
Yes. So we should get a little kickback there.
Yeah.
Like all of them. Mm-hmm. Give it to us now.
Yeah. So.
Yeah.
All right. All right. Ready for the next topic? What was your topic? You had
coolest jobs.
Coolest jobs. I have little Marco.
And if we want to go back to Donnie Boy, his pardons. They're embarrassing.
Pardon the interruption?
Yeah, I'd like to pardon his interruptions because it's embarrassing, man.
There's some amazing pardons in there. We might want to do a whole show next week.
That's fine. I would wait for that because there's going to be another dozen between now and then.
Yeah.
I think Diddy doesn't care because I think at the end of the day, Trump will pardon him.
No, he won't. No, he won't.
Well, it's a good thing.
This is a celebrity who cares about his voters. If he pardons Diddy,
yeah,
do you think his voters are Diddy fans?
I don't think so.
Think about his base.
I don't think so.
You think that somehow he's got the religious conservative base?
I still don't understand that. Not in the least.
I'm with you on that.
Yeah, that's
I don't
nuts.
get that. But do you think the conservative American is going to support him? What would benefit Trump to pardon Diddy?
Well, it depends on whether Kanye gets to Kim to go talk to Donald.
Yeah,
because that's the pardon conduit.
It's not happening. And as far as the way Donald has been operating, he literally already gave everyone the textbook. Blow everything up in the meeting, and then come back, soften as you go, and get the best deal you possibly can.
Well, that's what he did say.
That's in the art of the deal. It's there. He wrote it.
And he said
had someone write it in the 90s.
Right, exactly. But when he was asked that taco question, after he, excoriated the reporter for asking the question, well, that's a nasty question. Mm-hmm. Just answer the question. You don't have to comment on everything. But he said, look, it's a negotiating tactic. I start high and I back down.
Mm-hmm.
It's part of the negotiation.
Yeah.
So
that's how everyone does it.
You should. Yeah.
That's how everyone does it. All right. So we got coolest jobs, little Marco.
And we're going to save pardons for a show next week. I'm looking forward. No, let's save it for a show because, like I said, there'll be more stuff.
We can tease it.
Well, we can. Yeah. All right. My hair will go straight up.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean,
I still have some.
I like the way you did it.
Thank you.
So I like the way you turned your forehead into a 5 head.
Yeah. Exactly. That's why I'm starting to wear a hat like you nowadays.
He's working on a 6 head.
Yeah.
I have a 6 head.
I'm working.
All right, Blake. What you want? Your coolest jobs, little Marco.
Let's do little Marco.
Little Marco.
He's going wild with his bad self, ain't he?
Us, Florida boy, Florida man, little Marco. He is a Miami Dolphin fan.
Okay.
He is from Florida.
He is. Via Cuba.
Yeah.
Was he born here or born in Cuba?
I think he was born here. I think his older brother was
Big Marco?
Yeah. Hold on. His older brother's on my friend. My Facebook friend. He's one of my Facebook friends.
Okay.
I can't think of his first name. I'll come up with it. All right. So Marco is restructuring
visas.
Visas. He's redoing a lot of things as Secretary of State. What do you think about the job Marco's doing right now? As try and put on your umpire cap and not your.
I can be very fair. Just ask me. I'll tell you.
Yeah.
It's interesting because now he's sort of sucking up, and I don't disagree with the fact, but how are you going to parse this? The fact that if you're a Chinese exchange student coming here, or a Chinese student, not necessarily an exchange student, but you're coming to go to school in the United States, if you're a member of the Communist Party, he's going to not give you a visa so you can't come. Okay, I got no problem with that.
Mm-hmm.
Some of the other things, he's in a tough position. He's wearing about 6 hats right now because every time they fire somebody, they say, oh, good, Marco will do that too. He's the head of USAID. He's the Secretary of State, which is a pretty busy job there. You don't need 3 more titles under you.
Yeah.
But he's flitting around the world. The thing is they're undercutting a lot of his portfolio by Steve Witkoff flitting around the world trying to be the negotiator for Israel and Palestine. For where else was he? He was everywhere.
Yeah, he and I can tell you this. And his brother's name's Mario.
Okay.
So he's a lobbyist in Jacksonville, I believe.
Okay.
Really, really nice guy. When I met the two of them, I like Mario better. But I mean, I think Marco's doing a better job than I anticipated.
Okay.
Okay. I thought he was going to be a puppet to Trump, and he seems to be given a lot of latitude by Trump. And it doesn't feel like it feels like Marco is given more as far as people in the cabinet. It seems like Trump trusts him the most.
Okay, we're going to come back to the cabinet in a little while because this is supposed to be there's no more DEI. It's all based on merit, and I don't think there's of the entire cabinet 3 people that are qualified for their positions. So that merit is out the freaking window. But there's a lot of disappointment in Marco Rubio by his former colleagues in the Senate. A lot of them have said in the last couple of weeks, if we knew you were going to do this, we wouldn't have voted for you. They were expecting him to be a little bit more true to what he portrayed as a senator. Some of his hawkish views, some of his not hawkish views, and apparently he is playing the Trump cards and he is playing the Trump line. Now, yes, you're right. He's definitely got a little bit more latitude than anybody other than maybe Scott Bessent. But
so you give me a grade of 1 to 10. Where are you having? And this is coming from your
right now. I'll give him a 7.
7.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I think that's a solid. I think from where you stand, I think that's a solid grade.
Yeah. Okay. I don't think he's screwed up anything terribly bad. I just don't think he's done as much as he possibly could in that position because that's one of the stronger positions of the United States government. You got president, you got Secretary of State. He's 4th in the line of succession, maybe 5th. You got a president, vice president, Speaker of the House, Secretary, President Pro Tem, and then the Secretary of State. So he's 5th.
5th, yeah.
So it's not a bad gig if they all.
But I mean,
if that Qatari plane crashes,
if things continue the next 3 years and he stays in that position, I think he's ahead of Vance as far as presidential candidate.
I think he's more palatable to the majority of the voters in the country, be them left or right. Now, I don't know how he'll play with the Democrats, but he's more moderate and less crazy than Vance.
I think the Latin Americans will definitely get behind him.
I think so.
And the Latin Americans are drifting more Republican and more Republican. They used to be more on the Democrat side.
Well, a lot of that is their Catholicism, it seems.
Yeah, they're religious-based decision makers. Yeah. But one of the things that's getting beaten up with this current administration is how aggressive they are on immigration. And the whole reason they got elected was to be aggressive on immigration.
Well, a lot of that seems to be, there seems to be some buyer's remorse. I mean, there's a very big story that's on all the news channels now and in the papers about this woman named Carol, which is her anglicized name, who's been in the country for over 20 years from Vietnam. She's in a small town in, I want to say, Kansas.
Okay.
I don't think it's Kentucky, but I think it's Kansas. But, she got called, it's in Missouri. Yeah, because she got called to a immigration office in St. Louis, 2.5 hours from her house. They just said, come and show up. They didn't give her any details. She's married to somebody else who is not going to reveal his immigration status. They've got 2 American-born children. She works 2 jobs. She's a very popular woman in the community. She goes to her kids' baseball game. She does everything. She's a waitress in the community. She's beloved in her community. And she went in for this alleged interview where they said, good, thank you very much. Give us your hands. We're putting you in handcuffs. And they threw her into detention.
Okay.
And she's been bouncing back and forth between jails now. The community is up in arms. This is a town that voted 85% for Trump, maybe a little bit more even. And they're going, this is what we voted for. We voted to get the criminals and the gangsters out of America. Not the hardworking housewives, not the people that are the good fabric of our
they're
community.
Still illegal. It's not fair. It's not fair to the people that
I understand that. But explain that to somebody who sits next to this woman at a baseball game, and then they see a gangbanger going down the street.
No. Gangbangers need to be first, and I get it.
Well, then they need to change their priorities.
Let me finish my thought. Now I'm telling you right now, what she did was illegal. Correct?
Yeah, 20 years ago.
Okay, I mean,
I suppose there's no statute of limitation for being.
There is no statute of limitation for being in our country, and using all our values and freedoms that our people fought for
which she's been paying taxes for.
Okay, well, we don't really know that. You just threw that in there. You just threw that in there. How did she get a Social Security card?
She's been in the country 20 years. It's not difficult.
To get a Social Security card? Get a U.S. Social Security card?
Go to Times Square. I'll get you 3.
Okay, that's also illegal. So that's
of course it is.
That's another law she broke.
Okay. Oh, good. Now they got it. Now they got her on 2 crimes.
Each year, we're probably going to say, okay, she broke this law, she broke that law. I guarantee you, the IRS, she did not pay taxes all those years.
I'll look into that and find out.
So she probably broke the law more than Al Capone did. Now we shouldn't have arrested Al Capone for tax evasion.
Why not? Okay. That's the only way they can get him.
Okay, that's how they got him, right? Okay, so I guarantee you the only law she didn't was not just being in this country illegally. All right, I would love to see her tax returns, but I also would love to see Trump's. So
there you go.
You know, but we all.
I'm sorry, they're still being audited. They'll be done in I don't know. Yeah. St. Swithin's Day.
What's the year? They'll be done in
29. Right, exactly.
30. They'll be done in 30. But so what I'm saying is if you're here illegally, you're breaking more laws just by being here, and I guarantee. Don't tell me she's paying.
I don't know. I'm going to look into that. I'm going to see if I can find out.
Income tax.
I'm going to see if I can find out.
Because if she had a green card.
And the beautiful thing about that, by the way, if there's a tremendous number of immigrants in this country that are illegal, that have been paying taxes for years, that will never collect Social Security or Medicare. Mm-hmm. So, nobody says thank you very much for contributing to that.
They've been paying sales tax.
They've also been paying income tax.
How are they paying income tax?
They've gotten a Social Security number.
Without a work visa and without a Social Security card.
It happens all the time.
That means they broke the law to get that.
Correct. But
that's my point.
But they're paying the taxes.
You're missing the entire point.
I'm just telling you that they're bitching about everything, that we've got no money. Social Security is going to go under. These people are contributing. They're not going to collect. Ever.
Percentages of people that are actually here illegally are paying income tax compared to those who are not paying income tax. Because I see it. In the construction world, yes, I see it. They're not.
What about the restaurant business? Absolutely. There you go.
You see it. They're not paying income taxes. They're not signing their name to any U.S. form at all, because they have their biggest fear is getting caught.
Yeah.
They won't go to the emergency room because their biggest fear is getting caught. Now that is sad that they won't even go get help.
And you used to not be able to get clinked up if you went to the emergency room.
Yeah.
Nowadays, they probably got a guy sitting in every one of the emergency rooms around waiting for somebody to walk in.
Yeah. No, but the thing is they came here illegally. They knew the risk coming here illegally, and yet they still felt like that was worth taking that risk. But the people that do it legally and get through the process, there's somebody in my office who just was got his citizenship last year.
Excellent.
It took him 9 years to do it. Mm-hmm. He was here completely legally, and it was a process that was very costly, but he got it. And I don't think it's fair to him, who's done everything by the book, 100%. My French family from Le Macaron, the Jusco team over there, they did everything by the book and paid millions of dollars into our country to be an American citizen and to understand that this is what it takes to be an American citizen.
They did it way too soon. $5 million, they could have gotten a gold Trump visa.
Mm-hmm. You just are incredible. You're just incredible. How you're trying to
he's not selling this country?
He's not selling this country.
You got $5 million, we'll give you. Come right in. How does that not beat the line?
Do you not see the hats? He's making America great again.
Just ask him; he'll tell you.
Yeah, look at the hat.
But the hats are made in China.
Exactly. Thank you.
The hats are made all over the place. I can tell you right now.
But not here.
Yeah, all over the place. So, new arrows are made here.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, but those aren't New Era hats. Those are, you know, you wear them in the rain, you better get a second one.
Yeah, New Era is made in the USA.
Yeah, we betcha, baby. Go baseball caps.
All right.
Unfortunately, no. You are incorrect. New Era hats are made in China and Vietnam. I'm sorry, Dad.
It says on the tag. That can't be. It's a lie.
Dad, companies lie all the time.
What do you mean companies are lying to me?
Yes.
No.
Way.
Oh, that's not right.
We might have to have a group hug.
That's not right.
Yeah, I can't believe that. All right, Lenny, what's your last topic? And we got cool jobs.
Cool jobs.
All right, cool jobs. And then we'll get into our funeral stuff.
Which is also pretty cool. We only got a half an hour. You want to just save cool jobs for next week?
No, let's do cool jobs.
Okay. So there's a list of, they interviewed 3,000 people, and they all gave what they think is the coolest jobs. And it's a very interesting list. And Amanda would be very happy because marine biologist and is big on those. I do find it interesting that there's a bunch of these jobs that may not exist much longer because 3 of them belong to NOAA. So the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration. But take a guess what the number 1 coolest job in the country is. This is what people would like to be doing.
Okay, I'm sorry, because I went to fact check my fact checker.
Okay, and?
Okay. New Era caps.
My fact checker. Blake, you're in trouble, baby.
Are in a Florida plant located in Miami-Dade County. All right, which produces the Major League Baseball caps. The other ones, the cheaper ones, are made outside the country.
So basically, the regular hats that we wear,
the everyday, unless you buy the ones that are approved by Major League Baseball, it looks like they're made in China and Vietnam.
So the actual athletes' hats are made in America.
Yep.
The regular Fat Slob fans get the China and Vietnam hats. Got it.
Yep. The on-field ones are made in Dade County. So,
Dade County, even local.
All right.
Yeah.
And
So it's probably made by a bunch of Cubans.
Okay.
But it's made in Dade County.
yeah. All right.
Okay, because I was a little heartbroken by that fact check.
Well, with that, you're gonna be heartbroken as well. There's some Major League Baseball breaking news that infects us. Alexis Diaz got traded to the Dodgers.
To the Dodgers. Stop it, Dodgers.
I know.
Like they need to be stronger. So they need to be stronger. All right, back to cool jobs. I'm sorry to
That's
interrupt
all right.
that.
No problem.
I got lost on a tangent.
All right, I got to find out if that woman paid her taxes, but I will. But not right now.
We are going off on multiple tangents.
What's the name of the show?
Yeah.
Oh, that's gone.
All right,
now.
so
Not anymore. Oh, now it's Talks and Tangents. We are in the
Well,
Talks
it's in the half hour, right? We got our Thursday half hour
We're
going.
in our half hour mode.
Which we're eaten into by coolest jobs. What do you think the coolest job that people want to do? The number 1 coolest job?
Major League Baseball player.
Actually, that wasn't even on the list, nor was umpire.
Okay.
Animator for Pixar.
Okay.
Next one was really interesting. A paleontologist at the Field Museum in Chicago.
Paleontologist?
There's a lot of natural history and things of that nature. Because the next one was Tasty, a research scientist for Hershey.
Okay.
Then you got a wildlife biologist in Yellowstone Park. Then this is a NOAA job, a marine biologist at the Pacific Island Fisheries Science Center in Honolulu.
That's very specific.
Yeah. And I don't know if it's going to be there because the cuts to NOAA have been drastic.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, NOAA was the first job I could find of the 39 out of 140. There was only one in Florida. And the 39th most popular job or enjoyable job was Hurricane Hunter pilot out of Lakeland for NOAA. That was 39th on the list.
Okay.
But you've got a marine biologist also for NOAA I just did that one. A designer for LL Bean in Freeport, Maine.
Yeah. You haven't
too much plaid.
You haven't named a job I really would think is cool.
How about the
I like the animator one. I can get behind that, but I mean I can't draw.
Principal designer for Hasbro Toys.
I'd rather be the tester.
Okay. How about here you go. How about this one?
Because I love the movie Big.
Product developer for Ben and Jerry's. No? Okay.
He has to taste some weird flavors though, so that's
that's like,
and their coffee
that's
toffee
like
crunch.
saying a 15-year-old says, "I'd love to be a gynecologist." No, you wouldn't. No.
It'll ruin the joy of that for you pretty quick.
They come there for a reason, and none of them are usually good.
Right.
So,
Ben and Jerry's coffee toffee crunch is very good, and they've got pieces of Heath bar in it.
You let it with coffee. I'm out.
Okay, but what's worse is there's Heath bar in it, But the Heath bar pieces are like half Heath bars. They don't break them up into.
And then they're hard as hell.
Yeah, frozen.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
How about a meteorologist in Norman, Oklahoma, looking for tornadoes?
That would be cool. I'd be okay with that one.
I don't think that job is still there anymore.
That'd be cool.
That's another NOAA shutdown.
They got blown away.
Flight director for Johnson Space Center. How about that one?
Yeah, that'd be all right.
Okay. We're back to wildlife biologist. It's a bit chilly for the Alaska Department of Fish and Games in Anchorage. Curator for the National Aquarium in Baltimore.
Yeah.
Okay. How about we're back to paleontologist in the Museum of the Rockies in Bozeman, Montana.
No ocean.
Okay. Veterinarian for the Georgia Aquarium.
That one's okay because the Georgia Aquarium is also they're also in Florida.
Okay.
So the group when what is it when they had to do an autopsy on like dolphins and stuff?
Yeah, the one that starts with an N.
Yeah, that
necropsy.
Necropsy.
Those syllables are all out of whack.
Yeah, no, and that's when I can tell you this, and it's just a Troy story that's like this really happened. I got drunk with Kid Rock one day, all right, at the concert after the concert, and then the next day,
your buddy Bobby.
Yeah, Bob. Okay. And the next day, I was on the beach. We got a call. I was on the beach. We were actually having lunch at Beachcomber, and we got a call on the radio that a dolphin had washed up. And the dolphin had been attacked, and we were trying to save the dolphin that same day. And I can't remember but it was like 3 days in a row, 3 ridiculous things happened, and I'm just like, man, this is a cool life we have.
Yeah.
I mean, and it's stuff that only happens in St. Augustine.
Right.
So.
Right, absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, I could do with the.
Well,
the
I might get you with the last two.
Okay, what you got?
Number 15 is performance driving instructor for the BMW test track in Greer, South Carolina.
Nope.
Really?
Nope. I'm not. Yeah, because you're an instructor. That means someone else is doing the driving.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I got you on this one.
I can tell you this. I was terrified teaching Blake how to drive.
I got you. This one. If you don't like this one,
okay.
I don't know if we can be friends.
Okay.
Master distiller for Jack Daniels.
Jack Daniels is a little.
And I'm not a big Jack Daniels
fan. As a little Bernie, I couldn't. I'd have to live a county over. But I can deal with that one.
Okay, we got you.
All right, I can deal with that one. All right, we're talking about funerals.
Okay.
If you and I drink too much, we'll see them before we want to.
Perish the thought.
I have some pretty wild ones out here.
Oh yeah.
Give me.
Thank you, Bobby. But now teach me how to pronounce it.
Yeah, give me what you got as far as your.
I've got Tibetan ones. I've got New Orleans. I've got Madagascar, and I've got Ghana.
All right, the Tibetan one is the High Sky funeral. Let's talk about that one because I did have that one also. Mm-hmm. I thought you were going to do Vikings.
You know, I forgot all about them.
You said I stayed away from Vikings, which I think is the coolest funeral.
Yeah, push them out on the boat. Yeah.
You called dibs on Vikings.
Well, I got enraptured with the rest of them. These are some wacky ones out there.
Gracious.
I got involved in the whole second line.
Yeah, all right. Let's talk about the Tibetans and the Mongolians.
Yeah, and parts of China and Nepal. Buddhist tradition, they place the deceased on a mountain for natural decomposition or consumption by vultures.
Yes.
And it symbolizes the detachment from the physical bodies. Buddhists believe in the impermanence of the body, but they also will cremate you if you don't want to be eaten by a vulture.
Mm-hmm. I'm definitely not showing any photos. It's nasty. I don't want to show it on screen.
No, that's fine. I didn't ask you for those photos.
Do not show that photo.
Right. Interestingly enough, the Sioux tribe does something very similar. They put you on an 8-foot. In a tree or on a platform 8 feet up, they leave you there for a year, and then they take you down and bury you.
Yeah. For a year?
Yeah, a year.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a long time.
Yep.
I bet the buggies and the birds get him.
Well, they're into that.
But yeah, it's called a sky burial, which is fairly common all over the world. Another one that does it is the Parsis, which is part of India. It's the Parsis. There's only about 120,000 that even follow this religion.
You think they're up by the Himalayas, up in that corner? Because it seems to be Tibet, Mongolia, Nepal, and northeastern India.
They're not in that side. They're in the northwestern, like in between. Okay. The Parsis were Muslim and Hindu kind of was all one, and then they kind of broke off over the years and stuff like that. And the Parsis,
Thank you, Bobby.
The Parsis kind of stayed in that realm. And in India, there's 61,000 Parsis in all of India, and then there's another like 50,000 spread out all over the world. So there's only like 110,000 that even are a part of this religion. And they do the same thing, and they call it a tower of silence. And it ensures the body returns to nature without polluting the sacred elements of fire, earth, and water. So the reason is they keep them away from those elements,
right?
And let the vultures eat them.
So if you live in New York and you follow that religion, can you leave somebody on a fire escape?
I don't think the vultures will eat them there.
No, but the pigeons will.
Well, maybe the rats would.
That's for damn sure.
Rats
they got to get up the fire escape. Yeah, they're good at that.
But yeah, they'll get on the fire escape. But Sid gave me that one. He's like, hey, check out the Parsis of what they do. But it's very similar to the Tibetan. Yeah, like you said, the Sioux.
Tiber, yeah.
But I was talking about Madagascar. That's
a wacky one too.
This one's probably one of the weirdest things because this one goes on for years.
Yeah. Oh yeah. 5 to 7, and then they start all over again. Yeah. Yep. So it's Famadihana, which is Dancing with the Dead.
Yep.
And not the Grateful Dead people out there, as much as I like to do that, which you know I do. It's called the Turning of the Bones. Every 5 to 7 years, they dig up. They go into their family crypt. They exhume the body. They change their clothes after they've sprayed them with wine or perfume, and they dance around with them. Gives them an opportunity to bring them up to date on what's been happening while they've been entombed, ask for blessings, and, just tell them what's going on. And,
yeah,
it's a connection to the departed.
Catches them up on it.
Yeah, pretty much.
It's pretty wild.
Yeah.
So that one was probably one of the weirdest ones. Yeah, they basically make sure they have fresh wrappings and everything.
Yeah, they change their clothes.
Yeah. That one you might be able to show, like if you find Madagascar funeral. It's pretty. It's not totally disturbing, but it's pretty weird.
Yeah. Well, I got a happy one at the end. But did you look into or see any of the Ghana's fantasy coffins?
I only saw a little blurb about it. So. Yeah.
Is that dancing with their dead? Okie dokie.
Yep. So they're still showing them in the wraps, but they do unwrap them and then they rewrap them. That looks like the fresh wraps, and they're about to take them back to the burial. Yeah, I watched a little video of it.
And I'm thinking, I'd be hard pressed not to hear crack. If you're a little zealous with if you're doing the twist.
Yeah, bones are still pretty solid.
Okay. Good.
All right. So which one you were doing? The Ghana?
Yeah.
So
they're called proverbial coffins or fantasy coffins, and
their funerals are huge.
Yeah.
Okay.
And people choose to be buried in designer coffins, and they're shaped like things that either represent what they did while they were alive, as far as their profession, or things that they're passionate about, or anything whimsical that they wanted to. And Blake should have some. There you go. Blake's got a bunch of pictures up there. People have had coffins that are made to look like Coca-Cola. These are wood coffins. Made to look like Coca-Cola bottles, Porsches, animals, airplanes, fish.
It's like a fisherman there.
Yep. There's like a couple of fish and there's an animal. Yep. Somebody did a chili pepper, big shoes. And it sort of
that was Ronald McDonald.
There you go. He's got big shoes to fill. And in 2016, people started seeing this outside of Ghana, and it sort of caught on. So now, not only these coffins, people's burial coffins, but they become works of art now. So.
All right. Now you said you did New Orleans, but I have Haiti.
Okay.
And I'm wondering if some of those are the same if you're talking about some voodoo stuff.
No, New Orleans, I'm talking about the traditional jazz funerals.
Oh, okay. All right. I went with the voodoo.
Yeah.
Pres de Dieu. And it's a ceremony often on the night they releases the soul from the body. And it's a festive, this is in Haiti. And it's Pres de Dieu, which means pride of the dead or whatever. And it's a festive occasion that celebrates the life of the deceased and the spirit's journey to the afterlife. They involve a range of rituals, music, dancing, and offerings, often including animal sacrifices. So this one has some animal sacrifices attached to it. And, they end up pretty much at the end of the celebration, they all sit down and like play dominoes.
Well,
dominoes are cards. So
think back to, I think it was Live and Let Die, the James Bond movie with Roger Moore, where Geoffrey Holder, who was the Uncola man, he was a phenomenal dancer and an actor, and he was the big guy in the Uncola commercials when 7-Up was trying to make their bones, no pun intended. And there's a big voodoo funeral scene in that movie where he comes up out of the ground and he's, cursing everybody. It was all, try to get James Bond. But still, it was interesting because you got to see that.
Yeah. So that one was kind of interesting, and it's not always common that they sacrifice an animal, but it is a part of some of the more hardcore Haiti funerals. And after a year and a day, a rite of reclamation may be performed to place the spirit in agave, a clay jar, for guidance.
Okay.
So you go back to that jar.
You can have somebody you can talk to.
For guidance. So it's like similar to like an urn, I guess. But that one was voodoo, Haitian voodoo.
Well, I got a couple more that are interesting.
What you got?
South Korean death beads.
Okay, you got me on this one.
In South Korea, because they are so space limited that you only get 60 years in the ground in a cemetery, and after 60 years, you got to take the body up and let somebody else come in. So what they've started to do there is either cremate a lot of people now because they know they're only going to be lifted out after 60 years. Taiwan? Taiwan? I'm thinking about going there. Because they celebrate the dead with Taiwanese funeral showgirls.
All right.
Okay? You're going to like this one.
Boy girls or girls?
Girls.
Okay, because we're talking about Taiwan.
Yeah, but that's not Thailand.
Oh, Thailand?
Exactly.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Taiwan doesn't have boy girls?
They may, but
okay.
You're thinking of Thailand.
Okay. Thailand's more famous.
Thailand and the Ladyboys, exactly.
Ladyboys, got it.
They celebrate the dead with a risque send-off. They have showgirls, which I'm putting in quotes, stripping for the dead.
Okay.
To appease the wandering spirits. It's not overly common. Some find it disrespectful. Some say it sends the dead off with a smile.
Yeah. There's a whole line of them as well. Yeah, and on top of Jeeps as well, like their version of Jeeps. So, do we have to give them rubber ducks as well?
Wow, that's a big funeral procession.
Oh,
that's interesting. Yeah. Well, there you go. Holy cow!
I think the rubber duck thing's only for here.
Yeah, I don't quite understand that. Does anybody know the rationale behind that?
Yeah, there was a woman who had went through a real traumatic time, and then she wanted to kind of do something and some positive. And she was a Jeep lover, and she would write messages on the bottom of these ducks and put them on, hope you have an amazing day. Your Jeep is beautiful.
Yeah.
That
Uplifting.
type of thing.
Very nice.
It was kind of her giving back for her traumatic experience that she had.
Okay.
And it started taking off, and people were like, oh, okay, this is cool. Let's do this. It's kind of like the painted rocks. Okay. A lot of those have messages on them, and then you kind of rehide them and you do those things. But, having a 1965 Jeep, I don't have a dash to put my ducks on, and people leave them on the hood or something like that. And so it's nice when you come back to your Jeep and there's a duck on there. So it's kind of.
And there are stores all across tourist destinations now, and probably not even tourist destinations, that are just they're little small, not really kiosks, but they're real life brick and mortar stores. They just have walls and walls and walls of ducks.
I have a bag of little ducks. If I haven't used them in a while, but I have a little bag of ducks that, that I can use if I really find a Jeep that's really cool.
Good time. You carry it with you?
Yeah, it's in the Jeep.
Okay, well that makes sense.
I only have it under the back seat of the Jeep.
Okay.
I think that's where it's at. It's been so long. I think that's where it's at. So, all right, I have two more serious ones here, and these are larger religions. I didn't go over Christianity, but I have actually three. I have the Jewish funeral too.
Got to be quick.
It's 24 hours.
Got to be quick.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
24 hours, and
unless it's on the Sabbath.
Okay.
Can't bury somebody on the Sabbath.
And it's often held in a synagogue or synagogue or at the gravesite itself. So
Yep.
you just go straight to the gravesite.
Yep.
In a Jewish cemetery, you can't have a tattoo.
You can't be buried in a Jewish cemetery with a tattoo.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that's why
You could walk into it and you would not get struck by
light.
lightning. You could not be put in the ground in a Jewish cemetery.
That's why like the markings that in the 40s.
Yeah.
Because of being very cautious not to use
Any of those words.
Keywords that are hurting us. But that was part of the problem with that, right?
Yeah.
So, all right. And I got a question for you because you grew up in a Christian and a Jewish family.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if I've ever seen a Jewish man or a woman with the numbers on them.
Oh, I have.
Okay, that's why
Absolutely.
I was wondering. You got me by a couple ice cream seasons.
Yeah.
But I was just wondering if you
Abe Gordon in particular, the father of one of my oldest and dearest friends who sadly passed away this year, was a survivor and had his tattoo.
Mm-hmm.
For sure. And
see, I don't think I've ever physically seen someone with that.
Yeah.
So,
and it may have done a number on him because we called him Crazy Abe because he was kind of nuts, but I don't necessarily know if his situation caused that.
I
or
mean,
just,
that sounds like a PTSD.
It certainly could have something to do with it.
Yeah.
But he was young at the time, fortunately. So he became a very successful businessman, which was great.
All right. Another one I did also very quick is a Hindu.
Okay.
They also
that screwed me up this morning.
You're cremated in almost 24 hours. It's super quick, and but there's a 13-day mourning period, and a lot of different rituals and things like that. But for the most part, it's cremation is what the Hindus do, with the eldest son or other close male relative lighting the prior. How do you say this word?
Pyre.
Funeral
pyre. It's sort of like a Viking funeral on dry land.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's the oldest elder, and it's usually the male that would light it in that situation. Yep. So I found that to be interesting. And on the 13th day, a Shraddha celebration is held to honor the ancestors.
So this is a good segue because it's funny because we were watching Poker Face, which is a pretty good show on Peacock with Natasha Lyonne, about a woman who can tell if people are lying or not. And she's just, wandering across the country trying to find herself. And it's a takeoff of Columbo. Mm-hmm. So there's a murder every week and she solves the murder every week. And it's really very, very well done. Julie thinks it's a little tough because they're just rotating in guest stars. Mm-hmm. Like there's a bus that pulls up and they kick out 3, A and or A- list celebrities to go do this stuff. But there was one that took place in a funeral home 2-3 episodes ago, and they were talking about cremains, and everybody keeps calling them ashes, and cremains aren't ashes, actually.
Yeah.
It's ground bone, and it's primarily dry calcium phosphate and the main minerals, which is the main mineral in bones, and pulverized bone fragments. But people colloquially call them ashes.
Got it. So. Got it. And the other thing that I read, instead of saying rest in peace, Hindus will say Om Shanti Om, which means profound peace. So still very similar.
Okay. Yeah.
Which I found that to be interesting because of the differences between Hindu and Christianity.
Well, I'm wondering if that counts as do you get nirvana when you die in that religion? Isn't that the goal? I'm not sure if it's Hindu, which by the way screwed me up on the mini test today, the New York Times mini crossword puzzle that's supposed to take seconds. And one of the clues was, Hindu, but it was Hindi.
Their ashes are often collected and have to be put in a sacred river. Like
the Ganges. They roam in the Ganges.
Yeah. So
I ain't swimming in that.
Yeah. So so that was that one. I have 2 more. I have Muslim and I have pirate.
Pirate's good.
Okay. One of the things, being buried at sea and being a pirate and stuff like that, usually the ceremony takes place right there on the deck. And if you're a higher ranking on the pirates, like if you're a captain or something like that, you actually could get a coffin. But most of the time, what they did, because most of the time these deaths had to do with sickness and not necessarily, dying in battle and stuff like that. It was mostly sickness or different diseases took them out. They would sew them up in their hammocks.
Okay.
All right, and then they put
That's
rocks.
efficient.
They put rocks inside their hammocks,
Mm-hmm.
and even one of the last threads would go through their nose and into the hammock to kind of hold the hammock attached to
The body. Okay.
So, but I mean, they, because the hammock probably carried some of the disease that killed them.
Right.
It was like I never thought of. Okay, that's
two birds with one rock.
That completely makes sense.
Yes.
Of why they use the hammock for the shroud to bury the pirates at sea.
Right. They don't want to waste sailcloth.
Yeah. So, okay, I found that one to be interesting.
Very.
Yeah.
Very. Well, we can end up on an up note.
Okay.
With a New Orleans jazz funeral.
Okay, let's hear that one.
It's they're fabulous. If you've never heard one or seen one, they're pretty raucous. But it's predominantly in the African American community in New Orleans, and it blends mourning with celebration, and that's mourning with a OU, not RN. There's a somber procession going to the funeral, going to the cemetery, where they're playing dirges, they're playing gospel songs, Nearer My God to Thee, Just a Closer Walk with Thee, and it's very somber and it's very slow. And then when they're coming out of the cemetery, the band kicks it up a notch, and it's when the saints go marching in, or Didn't He Ramble On? And, they're dancing, the umbrellas are spinning, and then they pick up what's called the second line. Mm-hmm. So you've got the band, and you've got the family mourners right there. Mm-hmm. And then the second line is anybody who sees it or anybody who knew the person, and it just becomes a very long parade with people singing and dancing.
Like a funeral conga line.
Pretty much. Gotcha. Pretty much, with great music.
Yeah.
Yep, absolutely great music, yeah. And, a second line is big doings. And then people pay a lot of money to get a good band and get a second line going. You can sort of, get like a concert promoter to get your second line kicking in.
Yeah.
That's pretty good. And then, did I have one more? I thought I might have. Yeah, just an Irish wake. Good drinking afternoon.
And the Muslim one is also another one that it's 24 hours.
They're quick too. Very,
very quick. They have no viewings, no wakes. It's very, very subdued compared to a lot of other, very simplistic. One of the things, if they are buried, they position the tomb towards Mecca. Mm-hmm. No embalming or preservation.
Okay.
So that is basically that's a big no. No flowers, no gifts.
Okay.
None of those things. It's modern dress. No elaborate caskets. It's usually very, very simple.
Usually.
Yeah, it's nothing lavish whatsoever. And you're allowed to grieve, but it can't be excessive or loud or very expressive. Mm-hmm. Or you're basically considered being rude to the body. And so that one seemed very, very humble.
Well, I was going to say there's similarities. There's so many similarities between the Muslim religion and the Jewish religion, and a lot of that is based on geography, among other things. Mm-hmm. Like halal and kosher are very similar, and a lot of that grew out of need. But in the Jewish religion, after the person's buried, you sit shiva, mm-hmm. which means you're mourning for theoretically 30 days. Mm-hmm. You have to cover the mirrors in your house. You have to rip a garment, which is why a lot of people will just be wearing a black piece of cloth pinned to their shirt or what they're wearing. Mm-hmm. People come, and everybody comes to wherever you decide you're sitting shiva, whether it's in the house of the deceased or one of the relatives, and it's an opportunity for people to come and pay their respects to you. Mm-hmm. You end up with an awful lot of baked goods. You get boxes and boxes and boxes of rugula. Mm-hmm. And people do that, and you're supposed to sit for 30 days. And the person who is the mournee, I guess, maybe the mourner, because the mournee might be the dead person, has to sit on a box, not necessarily in a chair. Mm-hmm. Now, you can get away with it, but the funeral home will give you a sturdy cardboard box that you
Just a cardboard box?
Yeah. Could be cardboard, could be wooden, but they give you a pretty sturdy cardboard.
I was thinking
box.
like a crate or something.
Possibly.
Yeah, crate.
Yeah.
So
and you have to sit on that.
With you being half and half with the way you were raised, what would be a type of ceremony that you think, like, I want to be cremated. I don't want a big ceremony. I know I'm loved here in
Right.
St. Augustine, and the people love me. I don't want people crying over me for sure. But hey,
We'll get the band in the second line for you, brother.
Take a piece of me and throw me in all the parks and in the rivers and wherever you want to throw me. So that I'm good with all of that. So.
Well, both my parents were cremated, and I think I've told you before that my mother, we have our ashes. Well, we have some of her ashes at the house after she donated her body to medical science. But we put her ashes every place she spent time, on the boardwalk, by the school she taught at, by the soup kitchen that she worked in, a bunch of places. My father, his buddies took him and took his cremains and put a bunch of them on his favorite golf course, which is the red course at Eisenhower.
Oh, cool.
Yep. And they just went out and they just left that on every hole.
Yeah.
Julie and I keep talking about this. We're gonna if we
see, I would have been the smart ass that would have dropped him in the sand trap.
I don't know that Bob and Tom didn't necessarily.
Yeah,
but
I've been like, here's where you spent most of your time.
Yeah. But Julie and I have a plan, and if we can pull it off, more power to us. We're going to Thelma and Louise it. We're going to rent a convertible and drive our ass right into the Grand Freaking Canyon.
There you go.
And come and get me, coppers. We're gone.
Yeah.
If not, I think we're going to end up getting roasted.
Yeah. Just get cooked.
Yeah. So, believe it or not, I think we're out of time.
We are out of time. And that was a fun topic. And next week, what did we say we were going to do?
Pardons, baby.
Pardon.
We gotta, pardon the interruption.
Pardon me
us.
for forgetting it.
Yeah.
All right, guys, that's the end of our week this week here at Bollocks. But tune in tomorrow morning. We got a fun show tomorrow morning, and we have some great guests next week.
In a couple of weeks, yeah.
And actually, we have one next Tuesday.
Tuesday.
Yeah.
Oh, on the morning show.
Nope. We have one next Tuesday here.
Oh, I thought Wednesday was interview day. Who we got coming in on Tuesday?
Yeah, we got
I thought it was gonna be Wednesday.
former tax collector Dennis Hollingsworth.
Oh, good.
And the Women's Refuge, talking about the Women's Refuge and their new project that they got going.
Okay.
So got people doing great things. It's always great
He
to have him on
he
there.
ran a TAMP business as tax collector. I am, the DMV and the tax department around here. Big fan.
And the next day we have the new tax collector coming in the morning.
Okay.
So a lot of tax collectors next week.
Okay.
So
hopefully by then I'll find out if that woman Carol in Missouri has paid her taxes.
Yeah, no. Guys, we appreciate you. Support our sponsors, and we'll see you next week.